Raboisai. Beautiful oilam tonight. Gee. Energy. Menachem, Anishma. Shalom Aleichem. Welcome. Shalom Aleichem. All you guys that were here, I don't know, on Friday, a bunch of new faces today. David Badil's here, Shalom Aleichem again. Anishma. You're not a guest anymore. You come, 6 times a year? Wow. Okay, cool.
Every day.
Oh, there's no... It's very sad.
Every day.
So, Sternberg. So he told me the way he started Daf Yomi was him and his friend that work out together. They work out 4 times a week. In between sets, they rest for 5 minutes because they do the max. I don't know, whole drasha. Sometimes you wait 3 minutes, but if you do max, they wait 5. So decided they are going to learn Daf Yomi in those 5 minutes. So 5 minutes plus 5 minutes, Gewaldig. This was in English. Let me see where the English one is. I want to share a small victory. I recently got into the Daf Yomi and wanted to follow the share during my lunch break. I'm active duty U.S. Army. I was shocked to see that the Defense Information System Agency had blocked the website, MDY DAF. I submitted a request to lift the block, which was approved. MDYDAF.com is now accessible to all 1.5 million users across the Department of War. Chazak, v'nis chazek.
רבו ישראל, כמו שרבי סטפנסקי אומר, זה לא הדף, אלא זה היוני. לא לוותר על שום יום, אנחנו נמצאים פה בחופש, 40 דקות מהנסיעה מהבית מטורונטו, בקוטג'. כולנו נמצאים פה, כל היהודים היקרים. אנחנו על הלייק, ולא עוזבים את הדף היוני.
פשיט לימי גרבון, אם הוא לא ילד כשמונים שקבל See the camera he has on the pole? It's very geschmack. Just 360 the whole thing.
הסרטון שנשלח בדיוק לפני שנה, 365 יום, 365 דפי גמורה, 4 סיומי מסכתות, אותו ילד שהיה ב4 חיידרים, ואמרו עליו, לא יצא ממך כלום צפי.
He's in 4 schools and they said nothing's going to happen to him.
רבי סטפנסקי, it's not about the daf, it's about the יוימי. כל יום, אבל באמת כל יום, לא כשעה, זה אמיתי. בכל מקום שאנחנו נמצאים, אנחנו נהנים, אנחנו נמצאים בלייק עם כל היהודים ביחד, אנחנו הופכים את זה לחוויה רוחנית, אנחנו חלק מזה, אנחנו חלק מהעם הזה, זה חלק מאיתנו. זה כמו שאנחנו לא נצא מהבית בלי אצבע, ככה אנחנו לא יוצאים בלי דף ללמוד, בלי יוטיוב, ללמוד את רבנו. הכל מתחיל ונגמר בתורה, כי זה החיים שלנו. ישמע!
רבויסאי, שיהיה לכם ערב טוב ונעים. Shalom Aleichem. Remind me your name again? Shalom Aleichem. And you?
Avi Ritz
From? I know you. I met a bunch of times. Okay. Sorry. Huh? Oh, Shalom Aleichem. What's your name? Eitan. Shalom Aleichem. Who else do we have here? Oh, what's your name? And this guy? Your son? I mean, he's your father? Not related? No. Aaron what? Shalom Aleichem. Oh. Well, first of all, that guy over there, what's your name? From Gateshead? Shalom Aleichem. 1 minute. What's your name? And you're related to who? Shalom Aleichem. What's your name? From Montreal. And you are from? Shalom Aleichem. Okay, who else? Who else is a guest there? Oh, you look kind of new. What's your name? From? London, wow. And you guys? What's your name? From where? Not London, I said. What? Neve Yaakov. Oh, from the Neve Yaakov. No. I'm saying from the satellite location, not from the satellite. No, I did the English here. You do the English here. Yeah, but it's not your first time here, right? Shalom Aleichem. Who else? Who's this guy? he's at 2 shiurim on Friday. So this is like Chazar for the Friday shir. Chazar also. And the next year too? Well, what's your name? From?
Baltimore.
Baltimore.
My first recruit. 2 years ago.
Oh, really? And he's still going stark? 2 years later? Oh, you missed any daf? Here and there.
Yeah.
Still there.
It's official. So it's not official. I did it for 4 years.
It's a good call, good call. He was just minded that it's official, then he says it's his recruit. He got him to continue on. That's what he means. Okay, Gevaldik. What else do we have here? What could be better about to listen to the Rebelli with MDY Gemara and e-copier headphones? Remember that they used to give out headphones if you did the first 10 people? Okay, Rabbi Isai, official edition MDY Shas. The Masechta by Zevi Yal Shulov. Perik Shmini, Samlof, Pels, and Kendi families dedicated to memory. You ever heard of such 3 cool names together? Never. Dedicated, it reminds me of, what was it? No, he knows what it's. Kale. Samlof, Pels, and Kende families dedicated to the memory of Gershom ben Menachem, Yosef ben Tzvi Hirsch, Yitzchok ben Mendel, Aleim Shalom. Daf Kuf Zayin, anonymous from LA. L'nishmas Dvarmina Bayan David Ishkoyach anonymous. Oh. We got to do it again. L'nishmas Dvarmina Bas David. Thank you.
It's Ben David.
Oh. David said, so we're yaitza both. David Salomon dedicated memory of Avi Meir Shmuel Baruch Ben Reb Chaim Tzvi Deutsch Rechon Levracha. The Apology Family Foundation, may our Limud HaTorah during the Chodesh Elul bring us closer to Megula V'Simcha Anonymous. Haslach Baruch and Suvi Gashmias, and thank you to Chief Benny, Anonymous and complete refuah Shlema and Arichas Yom to Leah Bas Esther, Chaim and Leah Levy in honor of the MDY family. Anonymous for my birthday and as a schos Fatzlach of my family Baruch and Megashmi. Shmili and Fegi Koenig in honor of Chaim Levy hosting MDY. Ulatzlach b'chol anyonim. The tzviz refuah Shlema to Rivka Naomi Bas Elisha Batyo. Ari Simon. For Shnei Avi Mari Baruch ben Miriam. Weekly sponsors, the Spanish Shir sponsors, Lila Nishmas, Rav Yishaya ben Rav Yosef, Tzvi Lebetkin, Lezech Nishmas Elio Beryl ben Shmuel Chaim. Dan Rubinoff is the daily sponsor in memory of my grandfather, Yaakov Moshe ben Yosef HaKoyen on his yard site, day after day, right? Back to back, Dan Rubinoff. Razy Brown, in memory of Yenta Gittel Bas Sholem on her yard side, the Neshomas should have an aliyah. Follow the Daf sponsors, the new sponsorship. Anonymous, L'Refuah Shlema, Isamar Ephraim ben Chaya Blima, who said to Mark Ashkenazi that he feels like he uses the follow the daf on the bottom. So he wants to give back. So he's doing for a whole year. For the month. I think Rachel and Alex Katz, they're the ones that started it. You invented this thing?
I asked them to incorporate it. I think that.
So you invented it. It's working. Look, it's working. You got the guy that do a year. You got this guy for a day. In honor of the beautiful children, may they grow in Ahavas HaTorah in Yiras Shamayim. Again, I'm going to say it again. One last time. For now, for this week. Alex drove Azriel from Yerushalayim to hear the shir at 7:10 in the morning. But Shachris is Rosh Chodesh. Shachris started at 6:10, I think. So they had to get up in the 5 area. And then he drove him again on Erev Shabbos to the shir at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So that his 10-year-old can get geschmack in learning. We learn musagim here. We learn musagim. Now this kid already heard the shir, but apparently he was fahered at the Shabbos table and was a little shvach. So he brought him again for chazara, and then he's going to have him sit for another hour to hear the new shir on Daf Kuf Ches. Isaac and Talia, and they don't even do the follow the Daf. They're here live. Isaac and Talia Osil, in honor of Alex and Rachel Katz, for jumping into to be the first to support the follow the Daf. I didn't read this before, so very nice. MDY Shidduch Initiative Anonymous, Zivik Hogam Mekarav Mamish, the Shoshana Brocha Bas Shalamis, V'chaim David Ben Shalamis. Do me a favor, remind me, you're the guy that used to live next to you, the tall dude. Got to get his son on the resume, okay? I thinking about it during Ma'ariv, he was next to me, and then I walked away. MDY Kids Sponsors Month. Innovations LLC as a schusfa. Kiv Simcha Ben Feigon, Rivka Yudis Bas Yavachayon, our kids too. Some very normal people from the neighborhood came over to me and said that they put their kids on the app. I said, but how old are they? 21. I was like, 21 already? Why not? Get some free ideas. MDY Art Month. L'Refuah Shleima Mordechai Ben Esther. L'Refuah Hayel Daniel Zev Ben Ayelet Esther. Voice I were holding on Daf Kuvavam the Beis. Geschmack Daf today. Again, we have halacha l'maisa, we have some stories. 2 lines from the bottom. Omar Rav.
Turning on the daf now.
Huh?
Turning on the daf.
We don't. You work for Aryeh, come on. Shalom Aleichem, how you doing? I missed you. I missed everybody. It's mamish unbelievable. A whole month away. Nervayim. Omar Rav, how did anybody fall off the daf during Ben Azmanim? You're all holding? Anybody? You don't want to be Maida? Okay, I got it. Omar Rav, Ad Kan L'Chullin. So again, he's showing this joint number 1, joint number 2. This joint right over here. Not this first joint, joint number 2. Ad Kan L'Chullin. This is where you have to wash your hands when you're for Hamoitzi or whatever. Ad Kan L'Truma. Then he kept on going to the knuckles and he said, this is, you got it in there? Ushmuel Omar. Ad Kan Bein L'Chullin, Bein L'Truma, L'Chumra. Shmuel says you have to do it to the knuckles, even for Chullin. We got to be machmer. For Rav Sheshes Omar, Ad Kan Bein L'Chullin, Bein L'Truma, L'Kula. Rav Sheshes says, no, I could go to the second, to this guy, L'Chulin. Now, if these charts populate anytime soon, Rav says the second joint, the blue line for Chullin. The knuckles for Truma. Comes Shmuel and says, no. Everything's down to the knuckles. He's machmer. The next sheet is everything likula. We go out to the second joint, everything, Truma and Chullin, up to that point. Rabami. So now let's see inside. Omar Bahed, you have a came in the Kamei, the Rabami. Here's Rabami. V'Omar Ad Kan Bein L'Chullin, Bein L'Truma, L'Chumra. We got to go to the knuckles and we're machmer. Don't say that he was machmir because he's a kohen. He was a Levi. You see that even non-kohanim are machmir. They go to the knuckles. Okay. So, what do? So the Rif learns this whole sugya. He takes it down ad kan because it doesn't say mufurish knuckles anywhere. It says if you look at the top words in the Amud, it says Ada Perek. If you go to Amud Aleph, almost the last words in the Amud says Ada Perek. Netilas Yadayim L'Chullin Ada Perek. L'Truma Ada Perek. It doesn't say what it is. I mean, if you don't have Rashi, you don't have anything, you don't know what Ada Perek means. Maybe it's all the same. It seems like from the Gemara, it keeps on going up. Anyway, the Rif gets all the way to the wrist. That's how the Rif, he doesn't have the knuckles. He says like L'Chumra means to the wrist. So the Shulchan Aruch brings the Rif, and he says that therefore we should be machmer all the way to the wrist. If we have enough water, if we don't have water, we could go to the knuckles. So that's why people should be a little bit more careful. They usually go, and something important that Dadi Fine told me. He said he didn't want to say the middle shir because he thought it'd be insulting to the Levium in the room. He says when they wash his hands as a kohen, they also go like they just do the nails, they just do till the middle. He says you got to go. Come on, It's like regular Tisdayim. Everybody, are you a Levi?
Yeah,
yes.
Stick his hands in the sink for him.
It's Donnie's fault. Donnie, stop a complainer. Anyways, so listen, Kohanim, stick your hands in as far as you can. Levim, pour it to the wrist, and let's get it right. Okay. Shmak. Omarav, here we go. if a person washes his hands in the morning, and we're going to see later on, there's a tremendous tumah on the hands when you wake up in the morning, especially according, I don't remember anymore. This is Machlekes Rush and the Rashba. If the tumah is like some tumah that comes at night, it's because you touch Mekamis HaMechusim. Regardless, your hands are tummy. And we wash our hands 6 times, according to the Vilna Gaon, 8. You wash what they call negelwasser. Negel means the nails. It's not really negel. It's a little bit more than negel we saw. It's knucklewasser. You know, you got to go up to at least to the knuckles, maybe to the wrist wasser. But you're washing your hands in the morning. So let's say you know for a fact that you're not going to be available, you're not going to be able to get to a water source for a long time. Oh, you're on a safari. They take you out for a 5-hour thing. There's halacha. We're going to talk about it later. Like if there's 72 minutes away from water, you could go. Sometimes you're further away than 72 minutes. You want to eat lunch now. What do you do? So there's a few tricks. One trick we're going to talk about later is that you hold a sandwich with a napkin, a bag. The other thing is that you could do this. You make it tonight, but you have to make it tonight. You have to say in the morning, I'm washing my hands now, and this should last me all the way to my sandwich in the afternoon. And you have to make sure that you don't touch anything that's not good in between. You don't scratch the bottom of your leg. You don't scratch your head. You know, like you make sure that your hands are clean. It seems like if you don't make it tonight, it doesn't work. Even though you know for a fact you never touched anything. You wash your hands in your morning, you put gloves on your hands. No, it doesn't work. You have to make it tonight. He told these people, you don't have a lot of water. Make it tonight. I said the story about Chaim Pinchas Scheinberg. There's also a famous story about Rabbi Shaul Salanter. There's Talmidim asked him, how come you only use a little bit of water? Why don't you pour it on? So he says, look who brought the water here. Those days, those things. Pointed over there to the kitchen. There's an almana. She had to slip the water. On her cheshbon, I don't want to make chumras. Don't make chumras on somebody else's cheshbon. Some people say that it's dafka Rebbe Avinu told these people from Pakta Daravais because they don't have a lot of water. So they don't have a lot of water, you're allowed to make it tonight. Upligi the Rav. And this argues on Rav because Rav just said a straight out halacha. He didn't say people that don't have water do have water. He said you can make it tonight if you want to make it tonight. So we have a machlokes whether or not you can make it tonight. And this is what the Shulchan Aruch paskins, that even if there's a lot of water, you could still make a tanai, and that's it. I just want to read this before I forget. A note from Pinchas Weiler. Thank you so much again for your amazing shir that I listen to daily. My first time, Baruch Hashem, that I managed to learn every single day through Ben Azmanim. Thanks to you, good Shabbos. And it came with a giant tray of meat that I very much enjoyed, from finest cuts. Chashuv place. I don't know who Pinchas Weiler is. Maybe I do. Is Pinchas Weiler in the room? Maybe I know who he is. Maybe I don't. But Yishkoyach for Pinchas. I appreciate it. Omer Apapo. Hayariso dedale ein noitlim mimeno liyadayim. Oh, so we had a few times this idea of koyach gavra. Koyach gavra is that water. Shapsi's here. I forgot to say Shalom. To me, I'm like, I didn't, it was I saw you a few days ago, but I didn't. Shalom Aleichem Shapsi. I'll show you the video. You can see the picture first, then we'll show the video. They still do it today, where you get a water source straight off the river. So you build a channel, you dig a channel from the river all the way to your field. For whatever reason, this picture doesn't show exactly why, but they didn't dig it all the way to the river. There's a little bit of maybe there was a height difference. Yeah, maybe the field is much higher up, or whatever it is. They didn't dig all the way down to the river. So what do? have to sit there with a pail, take from the river, put into the channel. You do this, for hours until the water comes to your field. Now, we're talking about the guy, his friend in the blue, on the bottom of the screen, he has tummy hands, they're red. He wants to put his hands in the channel and use that for tfilas mayim, right? To remind the olam, if you dunk your hands in the Kinneret, what bracha do you make? Oh, so we need to fix something. If you dunk your hands in the ocean, you make al tfilas yadayim. Because you toivel your hands, it's even better than washing your hands. But the Kinneret is different than the ocean. Why is the Kinneret different? Because it's sweet water. Sweet water you could actually wash your hands with. You could take the water out and go like this. Ocean water you can't wash your hands with. If you took ocean water out and went like this, 1, 2, 1, 2, it wouldn't work. Why? Because it's not roy lachilas kelev. Even a dog can't drink it. It's ma'im sruchim. So over there, I'm just saying what the Mishnah Berurah says at the end of the day. He paskins. On ocean, al tfilas mayim. On a Kinneret, al netilas yadayim, even though it's a tefillah. Interesting halacha. So, let's see the video now. Since he's too far away from the water pouring, it doesn't help. But if he's right there next to it, then it helps. Why? Because like what we said with a faucet, it's not koyach gavra when it's far away. The koyach gavra, it comes from his force. When he pours the water, it's his force, but that dissipates a few feet down. When it's a few inches away, then it's still koyach gavra. For instance, you're on a plane and you don't have a cup to wash your hands. What do? You push the faucet and you put your hand underneath, that's koyach gavra. But 3 seconds later, it's already not koyach gavra, it's already flowing. So you have to wait until it shuts off and then you do it again. Remembering that there's only 25 gallons worth of water in that whole thing. That's why it goes off after a second. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. In El Al now, they have that little cup. On most flights, not an hour flight. But they have that little cup, and the leftists, they're very upset. Now we're making it from, it's usher, they demanded to take it off, the whole thing.
Transatlantic flights. It's only transatlantic.
How do you know it's not big enough? How do you know? It's enough of a shear for, if it was a real thing, like a real, I see people bring it in their carry-on, like the big giant one. And they run to the bathroom, I'm not kidding. They come prepared. Sit there for half an hour pushing. Why is that also to do, to use that whole giant thing? Anybody come up with this, or? Hilchas Tisa, huh? URL, bring it out as a URL maybe. I think it's time. It's Tichud Tzibur. A guy has realized to go to the bathroom. He's waiting there for the guy to go like this 25 times. Ein Sham.
Also, his hand, like, if you don't dry the hands, it's to wash, no? You don't.
Who said he didn't dry his hands? Why are you assuming he didn't dry his hands? He did.
The on and off button.
Oh, yeah, but afterwards he dries his hand like anybody else. But I'm talking about the guy that comes with this Negelwasser thing, prepared. Hayariso the daloi a noitim minali yadayim. Why? The leosm koyach gavra. Yishmak. He's pouring the water from the river into the channel. Do not put your hands in the channel because it's not going to work. The water then comes from a human force. But if you come closer, like we saw, the koyach gavra, then it comes from the human force. Let me show you one more time, so now it can be a little clearer. When he's further away, his hands remain tamei. When he comes closer, then his hands are tar. And now, check this out. There's 2 types of holes. There's a hole that water leaves the vessel. And there's a hole that water can enter the vessel. Which hole is larger? The one that enters. Because any small little hole, water will leave. But if you put a vessel that has a tiny little hole, you put a bow that has a small little hole in a river, what are the chances the water is going to go in? It has to be larger, slightly larger. So now check this out. If we learned the concept called nitzoik, if there's a water connection between the channel and the river, somehow you're able to make that connection like electricity. If you bring a wire from the river to the channel, you'll get electrocuted if you touch the channel. If you make that same connection with water, you'll also make a connection and you'll be able to wash your hands. Shalom Aleichem, how you doing? You'll be able to put your hands in the channel and wash your hands. Why? Because it's as if your hands are in the river. There's a connection. How do you make the connection? As you're pouring the water out of the whatever pail you're using, there's a hole on the other end of the pail that water makes a stream of water into the river. So now you have a complete channel. Let me show you how it looks. Okay, now, here we go. Now he has that kli. So you see there's a direct connection now between the river and the channel, and he put his hands in the channel. Even though it's further down, they become green. Yishmak.
Oh, so because the water is coming out of one way and the other way.
It's a connection. Oh. Try to understand it in a regular shir. Here, it's klar. Look, he got all excited. He got it, right? Shmak. Melef lifey. Huh? Shmak. Melef lifey. Umatu b'sayidayim. So, because there's a connection, you're allowed to put your hands in the water further down the channel. V'amarava, kli shenikav b'koines mashka, ein notem men liyadayim. If you have a kli, you have a vessel that I'm not going to show the whole thing, but the hole is large enough that water could go in from the river, in, not out, because out is smaller. In, that type of kli is no good for netilas yadayim. Do not wash your hands with a kli that has a hole in it. Here's a question. Stam. I'm throwing this out, nothing to do with anything, really. I'm talking about kalim here. Does anybody see a problem with one of these kalim for netilas yadayim? Is there any issue washing your hands with one of these?
You can't use the spout.
So that's not accurate, I don't think, but I know what you're talking about. That's what I remember as a kid. I couldn't find that really, but what the problem is similar to that.
I'll go from the higher side.
What?
I'll use the higher side.
Right, that's what you meant. You can't pour the water out of there from the higher side. Why? Because this kli is damaged. It doesn't have a complete, it's not round, it's not high on all sides. So you could only count the kli from the lowest side, meaning from the spout. Therefore, you could only pour from the spout. You cannot pour from the side even, because the side is higher than the spout. But because of the spout, the issue is the spout. In other words, the spout is the lowest part of the kli, so you could only pour from that. That's what I understand. If you have another thing, then let me know. Maybe it's better not to use these kind of kalim to begin with. But sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes the lower part is where the handle is. You know what I mean? It's the same kli, but the handle's on the other side. Now you have a problem. You have to pour it like towards the handle. You know what I mean? You always have to pour it towards the lower side. Fine. Okay. If the vessel does not contain a full revius, let's call a revius 100 cc. Okay, this one says 87, he says 100 cc, let's just, for argument's sake. If it doesn't have 100, it has 90. Ask the Gemara, why? Cliche machzik revius, if the kli is small, like he's saying on halal, I don't know, we have to look into it. Taka looks very small. But let's say the halal one is very, what? I'm pretty sure they, but yeah, they probably checked and they did the smaller shear, which is fine. If a kli is tiny, like the size of a shot glass, it doesn't have a revius in it, then you cannot use it to wash your hands. Let's say you're on a trip and you have a cap of a bottle. You want to use that for, you can't, it's too small. Huh? But it seems like, hamachzik avagav delesbe. But if it was a large kli, it just doesn't have the revius water, that's okay. Says Gemara Leikashia, holachad, holatray. Very interesting. We're going to learn a beautiful halacha here. That when a single person is washing his hands, he needs to start out with the right amount of water, which is what? At least a revius. But when two people are washing their hands, the second one, you start off with a revius. The second guy doesn't have a revius anymore. You start off with the revius. The first guy, let's say he's nice to you and he only uses half. So now the second guy is left with 1/2 of a revius, which is a shminis, but okay. That's enough. That's enough for washing your hands. For the second guy, why? Because that's called shiyore tahara. It's the leftovers of something good of tahara, and therefore it's enough. The first guy had a revius. He started off with a revius. He doesn't have to use the whole revius. He has to start off with a revius. That's the idea. You have to start off with the right amount of water. You can't start off with 1 drop of water. You have to start off with the right. How much you use, that's okay. You have to start off with the revius. The sanya, may revius, huh?
Is it like a tchila?
I don't know. I'm not a rabbi. I don't see a psak here. May revius, noitim li'dayim le'echad v'afilu shnayim. Here, this is the halacha. May revius, noitim li'dayim le'echad v'afilu shnayim. It says l'chatchila here. It's halacha in Shulchan Aruch. That if you have a revius, it's good for one person, even for the second person. Why? It's shiyar taira. He asked him, do you care if your kli, when you wash your hands, do you care that your kli is whole, doesn't have any holes in it, doesn't have any cracks in it? Yes, my kli has to be whole. Achazusa, what about if the water is a little tainted? I don't use water, it has to be clear water. Ashura, what about the revius part? Okay, great. That the vessel should be whole and the water should look good, that we care about. Ashur like Abdina, the revius we don't care about. This tanya. I don't care about a revius. Why? Because 2 people can wash from it. Says Gemara Velohi, but that's not a good raya. If you start off with the revius, then you don't have to have a revius. But a typical person washing his hands for Amaitzi should start off with a revius. Says Gemara, ask Rav Yaakov in our koid not lo bas reviasa. Like on the halal flight, you have a little cup on a string in shul, and everybody could go over it and say, oh, this is what a revius is. This is what it looks like. It's interesting because the Beis Yosef brings the Rebbeinu Yerucham, a Rishon. He says the reason why we call it Netilas Yadayim. Why is it called Netilas Yadayim? You ever think about it? It should be called Shvichas Yadayim. I don't know what. What's Shtifas Yadayim? What's Netilas Yadayim? He says because of this right over here, because of this natla. It's a kli that everybody imitates. That's the shear. So it's called Netilas Yadayim. Ask Rav Ashi v'utzal kuza bas reviyasa. He used the kuza to make a revius. What if you have a cover of a barrel? You're on a trip. You're up north. You want to wash your hands. Can you take off your baseball cap, your MDY cap, put it into the river? 1, 2, 1, 2. Yes, no. Anybody?
Yes.
No. Why not? Because the MDY cap. But what if it's somebody else?
It's got holes.
No, it doesn't have holes in it. What holes? Yours has what? It has the breathing thing. Okay, no, because it's not made for a kli. You can't use it. That's the reason it's not a kli. So if I use the cover of a barrel, it's not a kli. It's not meant for holding water. Now, if he worked it here, like this guy, He decided to work it until his... No, it's fast forward. Then you can use it. He made it specifically for holding water. Then you can use it for netilas yadayim. We learned the same thing, that you could use it for netilas yadayim. You had this piece of leather stand up. It's special for netilas yadayim. Sak v'kupo. Yesterday, I just want to share with you. Yesterday, in middle shir, chayal with the whole green, with a gun, walks into the shir. So I said, I asked the guy next to Arla. Arla is the Yerushalmi that comes every day. I said, I was just in Brazil, and I was telling everybody in Brazil that we have a Yerushalmi and chayalim sit next to him. So I don't look like a liar. You get up, have the chayal sit next to him. So here's the picture. The problem is, this is AI, because he didn't want to. The chayal refused to sit next to him. I asked him 17 times. I'm like, do me a favor, just say I don't look like a liar. No. Hey, go back there. Bittul Torah starts telling me. So Dave, in middle of shir, put them together. He was not happy, that guy. And then they said that Arla had to look for a place to daven on Shabbos. Yeah. That's right. Rabbi say. $10,000. You guys know that there's two more prizes, 5,000 and 5,000 for the second and third shidduch.
I put myself in there.
You told your wife you'll split it. I wonder if you put, let's say you put your resume, you think you'll get a match? I'm surprised that regular, I thought, okay, older girl, a guy, a divorce, 21-year-olds from the neighborhood, the guy, I'm not going to say who, the guy is a very successful guy, but he said, why not? I want to see what he does. So try it out. Everybody said, try it out. So when you have just a sack, I'm just the same word, a sack, that's already, no, you can't use it for netilas yadayim. It's not meant for water, it's meant for holding wheat or whatever. Oh, yishmak. I'm sure everyone in the room used this trick once here and there. When and how, or are you allowed to use a napkin, gloves? You're not going to touch the bread. Here's another question. Here's the shayla. If you are feeding your son, who's 3 years old, you're feeding him bread, you're putting it in his mouth, do you have to wash your hands?
No.
You don't have to wash your hands? Let's say you're 85 years old and you broke your 2 hands and somebody's feeding you bread. Do you have to wash your hands? But you're not touching the bread. It's going right into your hand, into your mouth. Nope, that's not the reason. Says the Gemara, fine. Do I have to be concerned that the person is going to touch the bread, even though I literally just saw somebody in my family using this trick on a trip? There was a napkin, but all their fingers were touching the bread on top of the napkin. You know what I'm saying? The napkin's on the bottom. Like, what are you doing? You're defeating the purpose. Oh, you with your chumras. No, they didn't say that, but okay. I think that's what they were thinking that. Okay. They gave food to Reb Tzadok and he on Sukkos, and he ate less than a egg's worth of kibetza. He would use a napkin. You're allowed to eat outside the sukkah if it's a chilas ara. It's a temporary type of eating. It's not a permanent eating. And you don't make birkas hamazon unless in a kibetza. My love, it seems like hakabetza by netilas adayim. So you could infer from this. We will infer from this, but this is the wrong inferration. Inferration. It's a nice word. Inference. I know. My love, hok. I didn't think for a second inferration is the word. My love, hakabetza by netilas adayim. It seems like if it's the full shear, you have to wash your hands, and a napkin is no good. So you see from the story, a napkin is no good. No, what you could infer is that if it's a full beitza, then you need a sukkah. You need to make a birkas hamazon. Tashma. The Shmuel Ashkechel Rav, the Kahacha b'mapa. Shmuel and Rav, they were contemporaries, and Rav was the Galadar. So Shmuel was also a little bit, but he sees Rav eating with a napkin of some sort. Omar lei. What are you doing? I'm istinus. I wash my hands. Do not worry. Of course I wash my hands. Plus, I don't like touching my food. Today we call it a fork. Put in. No. I'm not talking about Rav. I would never talk about Rav like that. Rav was istinus. Rav wore gloves of some sort. Kisal greb zero. Oh, we could do this. Turning of the daf. Encore healthcare as a schus for Klai Yisrael. This Elul. Amen. Shmuel and Ahova Schuster as a schus for Yemadin. At our global specials in international financial services. Tzvila Betkin. Zechnishmas Leo Beryl. Ben Shmuel Chayim. Kisal greb zero. Zero went up there to Yisrael. Ashkechinu. Lerb Ami. Verb Asi. The Koachli. Bevloi Chamosis. So maybe it means, maybe it went down? What does it say about you guys? Kisalik? Because Rav and Ravasi, no, they were there in Israel. Sorry. Rav and Ravasi, yeah, they were in the ferry over there. The Koachli b'avloi chamosais. They were the leftovers, the ruined, what do they call those things that you put water in, like in camp? No, canteen, yeah, like a canteen, skin bottle. Yeah, it's made out of leather. So they were using the leftovers, they were ruined, so they used it as napkins. Omar, you messed up the story. Shmuel yelled at Rav, but he explained it to him. He explained afterwards that Rav actually washed his hands. He didn't use a napkin. Says he missed this part. Those who eat truma, like Kohanim, they are zrizim. Kohanim is zrizim. What's better? A zariz is a zahir. A zariz comes after zahirus. Zahirus maybe these rizos, meaning you're gonna prevent the whole situation. Kohanim is zrizim. They're fast. They make sure that they're not gonna touch the bread, etc. So therefore, even a person who's makbid on chulin b'tahara, who eats regular food, but as if it's tar, he cannot use a napkin. Therefore, they're allowed to use the napkin. And Shalom Yisrael. So it's very complicated to use a mappa. That's the bottom line. You should ask your local rabbi if you could get to a water source 4 mil forward, driving, walking 72 minutes, or 1 mil backwards, then you're not allowed to use a mappa really. So it's very, very rare that you're allowed to use a napkin.
Even if you do, you have to wrap the hand, not the bread.
That's a nidain. I'm not so sure that you're right about that. Yeah, I know, but the Rishonim talk about it. So I don't know what they pass in halacha.
The verse is a hand. You wrap your hands.
Mishra says wrap your hand. You sure? Look at it first. I'm not sure you're right. I'm not sure that's the psak. Could be you're right. Okay. You have it? What? Okay. But I don't know if that's... look at the whole thing and then tell me. I hear what you're saying. He's saying that Mishmur says you have to wrap your hands, and I don't think that it goes l'maskana with that. But okay. If somebody is feeding you, do you have to eat? Do you have to wash your hands? Here's the story right over here. Okay. Toshma. Rav Huna Bas Chor have a koi come in the Rav Huna bolam liyum tzavachil. He gave him a piece of meat with it, like a sandwich. Put it in his mouth. Omar Leis, Rav Huna said, he loved the Rav Huna. Omar Leis said to Rav Huna, he loved the Rav Huna. Lisafina loch, I wouldn't have done this for you. It's because you're Rav Huna, you're careful. My time, because you're careful. Loi, the zar is kadim u'masha yodem ikara. The pshat is because he's Rav Huna and he must have washed his hands beforehand. Tashma, Omar B'zeira, Omar Rav, lo yitan adam prusel tech pivshel shamash. They used to have these, still have, like a waiter that was like really dedicated. And you know, he worked for you, so you feed him. So you give him, literally, you open, he walks by with the things, he said, open your mouth. Put in a piece of bread into his mouth. Unless you know for a fact that he washed his hands. Now, the shamash, he wants to drink wine, so they give him a cup of wine. Now, anytime you drink something or eat something and you have in mind to finish right there, or you don't think that you're going to be eating later, you have to make another bracha. Over here, the shamash knows that, you know, the guy has a very expensive bottle of wine. He's most likely not going to give him another cup. So he's Masich Das. He forgets about his bracha. He's done with the bracha. So therefore, if he gets another cup, he has to make another bracha. Ve'edem evar what? Somebody said no. Ve'edem evar hakol prusa prusa. But on bread, he doesn't think his balabas is so stingy. If he wants another piece of bread, I'll take another piece of bread. So he's not Masich Das on the bracha of Amaitzi. No, Rabbi Yochanan argues, he says, no, he has to, you never know with this balabas. Maybe he won't give him anything. What does Rav say? Rav says that the shamash doesn't make a bracha on each piece of bread. So when you have a chashuv person there, he's not going to embarrass, the owner of the balabas is not going to embarrass himself in front of a chashuv person. He's going to give him more bread. Okay? So there's a difference between the two stories. If you go back to the beginning, he says, Rav says, you have to wash, the shamash had to wash his hands. You see, the person receiving the food must wash his hands, even though he's not touching the food at all. Therefore, it's not such a great trick on a trip, right? You can't tell if you're up north, you're in Yellowstone, you can't tell your wife, put the bread in my mouth and I won't touch it, and Mamela, I could get out of the washing hands. You have to wash your hands. Shani Shamish, maybe that's different. Shamish, the Torah, he's very busy serving, and maybe he'll come to touch the bread. So you can't bring any raya from that story of a Shamish. Torah Rabbanu. You as a guest, don't start feeding the shamish, because you know how it is when you start feeding the waiters, the balabas gets very nervous. I know people that are very makbid when they start taking things off the table. They take two sandwiches, 3 sandwiches. Why are you feeding this person, that person? That's why we have a rule here in MDY, you can't take food home. I know that person. He gets so upset, he'll start choking, he'll knock the cup of wine away. And if the shamash didn't wash his hands, you're not allowed to put the bread, like we said before, you're not allowed to put the bread in his mouth. Here we have the same thing. Here's the machal guy. This wealthy guy on the right, does he have to wash his hands? Toshma, the Tony b'nei Menashe, Rabbi Shimon Gamliel Oimer. Isha medichas yoda achas b'mayim v'nisen is passive v'nokata. Interesting halacha. We're on Yom Kippur, and a woman wants to give her son a piece of bread on Yom Kippur. Now, you're not allowed to wash your hands on Yom Kippur. Why? Because it's rechitza. There's a whole question if you're allowed to wash your hands for negovasa. You have the tumah, it's a sakana. So a lot of people wash literally the negels, just the one joint. Some people don't wash at all, whatever your minig is. Isha medichas yoda says over here, if she wants to give her kid a piece of amaitzi, she should wash one hand, not 2, which is also very problematic, because either you wash 2 hands or you don't wash any. What's 1? It's like a kula on Yom Kippur that you wash 1 out of the 2, but it says passive v'nakata. So if we stop right over here, you see that you have to wash your hands if you're feeding somebody else. Amru olav al shami azaken shelo yirotza lahachil biyodei achas. He didn't want to wash. Shelo yirotza lahachil biyodei achas. He didn't want to wash his hand and feed his son with one hand. And this is Shiloh whether his son was starving or somebody else fed him. V'gazru olav sheyachal b'shnei yodav. And Chacham said, you have to wash both hands. We want to show that you're wrong. You're supposed to wash at least one hand. You wash two. There's a certain ruach ra. There's a bad spirit that comes and goes on people's hands when they sleep. And you should wash your hands on Yom Kippur for that ruach ra. And that's what the woman was doing. The interesting thing that I saw from Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, you know, like when you invite non-religious people to your house on Shabbos, so everybody knows if they're going to drive back after the Sudas, there's a problem, you machshel them. So what do? You tell them you have a place for them to sleep. If they decide to drive back, fine. What about if you know for a fact the person's not going to bench? Not going to bench. He's not going to wash his hands. He's a lahachasnik a little bit. You allowed to invite him or not allowed to invite him? What does the logic say? You're not allowed to give him food if he's not going to make a bracha, maybe. So Shlomo Zalman Auerbach says it's the worst thing if you don't invite him and you make a whole scene out of it, because then you're going to be merachik him from Torah mitzvahs in the future. The fact that he's not washing here, that's what he says. Azach chiddush. I don't know if it's chiddush. Some people might be. Okay. Hold on. Let's talk. No. Let's talk later. Toshma, Davud Shmuel Ashkel Shmuel Dikabachi. Meister Shahaya. Gishmaka Meister. This is going to bring people back to the trauma of when they were younger in Cheder. Shmuel's father sees little Shmuel, his little kid, crying. Amalei Amaika Bachas, why are you crying? Says, the Machin Rabbi, my Rebbe gave me a smack across the face. Amai, why? Do Amalei, Kasafis Lebroi, V'lamoshes Yodeh, Chutzpah. You're giving my son bread, and you don't wash your hands? Poof, smack in the face. So first of all, you see, that's not just our generation that went through the Holocaust, the Rebbes and this and that. The Rebbeim back then also used to give Gishmaka smacks. So now, this is very interesting. Shmuel's father is verhering him. He says, look, if you didn't know what you were doing, and you were mizalzel in the Til Sidayim, you didn't wash your hands because you didn't feel like washing, then you deserve a smack. But if you know the halacha, I need to know. So Shmuel says, that kid is going to eat bread and I have to wash my hands. In other words, he knew the halacha. Not only does the Rebbe not know the halacha, he gives smacks too. What a chutzpah. He doesn't even know the halacha, and he gives smacks. Hold on 1 second. I thought of a good story here. I forgot what it was. 1 second. Oh, yeah. Ma'aseh Shahaya. A Rebbe comes late to class. So one of the kids goes like this. So the Rebbe walked over to him, smacked him across the face. So that night the Rebbe gets a phone call from the mother. He says, you know, my kid was so excited to show you his new watch. And you smacked him across the face. It's not a funny. It's a real story. It's a Ma'aseh Shahaya. Ma'aseh Shahaya. And I can guarantee you the Rebbe didn't even apologize. I know these kind of guys. I had them. No, I don't know. Who knows? V'hilchas says the Gemara. Now we're wrapping this up. So everybody get this klar. When you're being fed bread by somebody else, you must wash your hands. But the mother giving the bread to the child doesn't have to wash her hands. Rabbi Sai, have a wonderful week. Thank you for coming.
Merit the schus of spreading Torah throughout the world. Sponsor a shir today. MDYsponsor.com or sponsor at MDYDAF.com.